In preparation of humoring this number with you in full, I have taken a look at the lyrics of Cyanide Love and considered the fact that this is the follow-up, the 6th track on the record of Bleed Out, but the follow-up track to track number 5, Ritual. Quite a dramatic one, specified direction. As I've said with Bleed Out, there is, at least for me, a overarching philosophy of personalized, at least as I've summed it, personalized empowerment through reflection on present or past tribulation. And some of the pieces have more of a specialized regard than others do. Others have a bit of a broader reach, at least stated by the lyrics, void perhaps of band declaration, unless if you're considering it that way and just the numbers superficially. Cyanide Love, I see potential again just on name, and maybe some of the elements of the chorus construction that we're going to see an immediate connection point to the energy of Ritual. In a bit of a disastrous relationship, but one that, again, allows reflection. A dramatized picture, and one that is quite fascinating, too, on particular favorite aspects of European metal for me. Let's say, for example, other language immersions. I believe there's some German in here, which boasts some individuality of Cyanide Love on taste. Now, on faith, considering the Within Temptation credit, of course, any initiate listeners to put you on even footing, if any of you approach again not having humored their works, I would recommend now that we are on track 6, of course, with the understanding of Bleed Out, 9 going on 10 numbers in terms of primarily first interactions with some deviations from that in our journey together, starting with Don't Pray For Me and continuing on to this day, with my long-awaited promise of giving you a full album run-through, and I deliver on what I tell you I'm going to do, and Within Temptation, it was warranted. To put you all on even footing again if you approach from an first interaction lens, Dutch-based symphonic metal, and one of significant prowess and favorability for me, an early entry for me in terms of my love and exploration into the European metal world, and one that is of such advantage. I speak of it fondly because it's true. With a vast pool of artist considerations, as certainly a phase 2, it's a good body of where we currently sit, and Within Temptation's right in the midst of that. But a favorite that we started covering, I took a bit of a hiatus admittedly, not intentionally of course, but now I'm back to enjoy these numbers with you again on a fresh impression when as I held out this long to finish out the album. With Cyanide Love again, I think this is going to be quite a potent picture, like any other numbers have been. Now to be clear again as we enter, as I've said many times, music is best enjoyed in company. Within Temptation, I would not make them an exception at all in that. They are great. Even better again to humor the graces of all of you, irrespective of the personal approach. Longtime fans, I know there are some of you, of course. I want you to feel welcome alongside other initiate listeners, or people who've not yet welcomed the graces of Within Temptation, that maybe this will be your start for you. 6 tracks in, I know, again, as I said specifically, the first 5 pieces, and really the order of the album in full is worth your time. So don't neglect and overlooking any of those pieces that, again, are such, take it from me, a welcome approach. Those first 5, though, especially, and on presumption of Cyanide Love being a follow-up to Ritual, let's see. I'm for sure definitely thinking, though, it would be an invaluable first pitch for you on potential that it will be linked to humor Ritual in advance, and then come back into Cyanide Love if you've not witnessed that. So perhaps take that journey for yourself. Maybe enjoy it with me if you like. That video presently is already up, as well as anything in advance that we've enjoyed together via Within Temptation to this point. Let's continue the journey through Bleed Out with Cyanide Love, and see how dramatic this is a presentation, if it is a good tonal follow-up to Ritual, or directed one. I'm sure, again, it'll be a great number, but I'm really curious to see if there is an existent link. Let's find out for ourselves. But automatically, what I've seen of this song based on lyrics, it's already got a strong facade to it. Certainly on anticipation. More assertive punk route. The vocal extreme, though, is a good parallel to Ritual.
I know I'm running, but I'll get away. I'm like a ghost, I know you'll never find me. I'll get you closer to my highway.
I like the way the lyrics mimic a step pattern. Lingered resonance, definitely a heavier chic on this one. Much darker with the riff choice, and it carries on a bit of a new feeling of experience.
The fear of knowing how it gets inside you. These streets are mine and this is boring. You look around, there's only hostile faces.
Yeah, it really does interweave with ritual, I think. At least by what I'm pulling out of it.
You'll take it, you'll break it, and second to where we go.
I like how the riffs are a bit stagnated here again. They're drawn out. Paired with the vocals, too.
You turn around, you know you can't run away. Sunflower still be growing over your grave.
That's a good visual line.
You'll take it, you'll face it, and burn all my smoking
This one really has a nice modern voice to it. It's just right in those riffs, you hear it.
Then we kiss goodbye. I'll get you closer to my heart and really lead you astray. I'm like a ghost and I will rise behind you.
This feels like a retribution number from somebody now very happily in their control position.
You'll take it, you'll break it, and second to where we go. You'll find it, you'll find it.
The visual storytelling is great too. Again, it's an ominous image.
You turn around, you know you can't run away.
Very grounded presentation, though again, in keeping with Bleed Out as an album.
You'll take it, you'll face it, and burn all my smoking gun. You look at my cyanide love.
The modernized stylization here with this number, again, a lot of it is in the riffs. And the modulated vocals, especially the "You Will Get My Cyanide Love" line. Deliberately connects to Ritual for me. Which is interesting because the songs don't necessarily share placement of time on score. At least in the way I experience them. That one drifts out pretty quickly too. Only 2 choruses, so one refrain is dropped as per typical structuring of indentation, though. Not a bad choice. The way we drift out, though, again, then it mimics the origin and amplifies such an unusual energy. With it. Okay, this is quite a complex song to dig into, I think, because there are some specialized layers to it. Now, there are, even with the wild departure points, the ones I think are I think the reason it comes across as wildly differentiated is the changes and the alterations from expectancy with Indentation's voice are a little more pronounced. But the roots are still here. Again, the dramatized riffs and the way that they linger, there's a couple tracks, again, that have that particular sensation that I've recognized as well, like the last one that we looked at, Worth Dying For. This continues that effect, and it's associated very well to Ritual. Tonally, well, based on key choice and riff force, I'm tempted to say this one's a bit darker, though part of me wants to say they're kind of that way, even though I think Ritual is even darker based on the visualizer, what that added in terms of the illustration. This one, it's more reliant with that effect established on tone, I think. The key definitely. Riffs, yes. The modulated vocal choice, 100% with Sharon. Those drifts on the "You'll Get My Cyanide Love" line. That instantly evokes, again, that effect. It's interesting to try to cover the song on a first impression witness, isn't it? It's a raw look. And I think this one definitely requires a deeper investigation to fall in tune with it. What I can pull out of it, though, there is a deliberate connection that I feel to Ritual. Specifically in the this is like a follow-up number, I think, of somebody in the recipient position. As I said on initiation of discovery with this number, you should have humored Ritual in advance, and I see that even more so now, because the deliberancy of connection, from the perspective of somebody who, with Ritual, that was the origin number, and this is the part 2. In Ritual, you might remember again, as envisioned by lyrical theming and amplified beautifully by the visualizer in such an original way, and one that still is just a potent illustration in my mind. It's lingered well. You have a woman who's the recipient of mistreatment socially. And if you like, you could draw a connection to, as I said, it's quite a contemporary number and envisionment. I drew connections to, let's say, for example, the Me Too movement and many stories that come up from that. So it feels like a modernized realization of the tribulations that many people, not just, of course, it's not exclusive in terms of who's a recipient or who's a perpetrator, but in that video is imagined as the leading female character that might fit, again, the particular usual and familiarized to all of us Me Too mold of somebody who has dealt with harassment in many facets of life by some males who don't know the meaning of respect. We'll just put it nicely. This song feels kind of like a follow-up, again, like I said, on emotions. It really is like a part 2, and it's evident mostly for the chorus, for the illustrative details, that this is sort of like, it comes off as a bit like a retribution journey, like it's following in storyline of that song. And you see in the video how that emotion, that anger, and that indignancy of being mistreated like that is expressed visually. Now, of course, we're not meant to, take the lesson of this should be, actualized in life in terms of real behavior and response. You shouldn't get as violent, like, do I need to specify? Like, anybody knows. But the violent actions you witness on camera or by AI screening are not meant to be practiced in physical behavior, right? But it communicates the emotional sentiment of how the woman is feeling in situations and in her journey of recovery, right? In wrestling with that mistreatment and confronting it and combating it. This song as well, it comes off with a similar voice. You'll take it, you'll break it, in seconds it will be done. You will get my cyanide love, you'll bite it, can fight it, or can't fight it. You're dead end, nowhere to run. You turn around, you know you can't run away. Sunflowers will be growing over your grave. That line in particular, beautifully imagined again on details. I like the illustration immediately. It pictures that image well, which immediately for me, when I witnessed that, conjures up the Ritual memory. It faithfully carries on that empowerment feel of somebody who's in that reflection stage, that they've dealt with the aggression and the toxicity, and they've left it behind them. I think that's probably the best way to sum it up, lyrically speaking. I see again a thread. Now, song construction wise, again, it's I've already explained a couple of the details I found, but it is a departure number, at least on mood. Again, it's incredibly dark, in particular based on the riffs and the key and some of the vocal modulation with Sharon's regard. And even with the roots of Within Temptation familiarity, for example, again, the heavy basses that are notable with Bleed Out and incorporated in Unity on this record, it still feels like a song that stands out quite a bit on voice. And as well, the German lyric interweaving. That's a very creative choice. Now, I'm not an expert in German myself. I'm learning as I go with certain groups, certainly of the folk origin. I like that added layer. And even outside of German, I've seen other languages interwoven too, and others that I know we're getting to in terms of other artists on Phase 2. That in particular, that's part of the reason I chose those numbers specifically. It's an interesting aspect that adds on a bit of, again, a freshened presence, and one that is differentiated from common plays on my library that I find very interesting as it listens, quite fresh. And I admire originality whenever you find it. That's not something, at least in my experiences, that Within Temptation's played with yet. Maybe in their back catalog of numbers I've not yet introduced myself to, perhaps. But at least for Bleed Out, that's the first I've seen of it. It's an interesting incorporation to a number that automatically has wild differentiation, at least on first experience with it. It does fit tonally and lyrically very well into Bleed Out. Specifically, again, in connection to, or possibility of connection to Ritual. But it still has such a freshened facade that I do find it specifically differentiated on experience. I do think this number in particular is going to recognize significant conversation because of its complexity, and I'm ready to hear your opinions on it, because it brings up a necessity to dive deeper, I think, especially on review. On re-listens, I should be able to examine more, but certainly superficially, it comes off pretty differentiated and welcome. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below, and again, from whatever angle you approach, longtime fan or initiate listeners, what do you think? It's a dramatic piece that syncs with you, but first and foremost, simplified opinion, it does come across to me, like I said, directly as a part 2 response to Ritual. I think in the resultant effect, or the overview of the results of what Ritual details in the story. It pairs really well in association, at least for me, in the way that I see it. It's another welcome attribution, though, on Bleed Out, for sure, as an album. Again, on entry, I love Within Temptation, just even on First Temptation of humoring them. They're great, and they always deliver for me. Great experience, though, to take with you tonight. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's so much better in collaboration. One more number to go in terms of delivering my promise for you for a full album realization. Lastly, with the 10th track on the record, Unbroken. And like all the other numbers of experience tonight, I am eagerly anticipating it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.